Hello everyone, let's see if we can get this intro to this Java tutorial done in under 30 seconds. Today we're going to be covering conditional branching, which basically means we're going to have if statements, else statements, else statements. We're going to cover some Boolean algebra, so if something's greater than or less than something, if it's equal to something, or if it's not equal to something. This is all stuff we're going to use when we're calculating some ages, and you can apply this to like character levels and stuff like that in video games if you want to. That's enough for me though. Let's go ahead and let's jump into some code. Okay, so we're going to be taking a look at conditional branching. So we're going to do if, else if, and else statements today. And we're going to start by, I guess we're going to create like a basic scenario we can work with. Popular example people like to use is like the legal drinking age. So I guess we'll just stick with the cliche. And then when we cover switch cases in the next video, we can move on to something more fun. Maybe we'll do like Pokemon or something. But okay, so we'll start with an int, and we'll say int, I don't know, age, or I guess my age equals 25. So for the sake of this example, we'll say that I'm 25 years old. So let me just comment that. For this example, I'm 25 years old. Okay, cool. Now we have our age. We also need our legal drinking age. So we'll say int legal drinking age equals 21. And we'll add a comment to this as well that says this is for the United States. And then I guess we can just consider the people in Europe lucky in this scenario, I guess. But okay, we have our age, we have our legal drinking age. Now what I would like to do is to compare my age to my legal drinking age and see if I'm old enough to drink. So the naive solution, which won't work, of course, but that's fine. One of the core concepts of software engineering is to try the thing that doesn't seem like it'll work at first, and then keep going until you have something that works, and then you can always make it better afterwards. So let's see if we can solve this problem. So the obvious solution is just system.out.println. You are old enough to drink because you are plus age. So I guess my age, right? So you're old enough to drink because you are 25. So let's run this. Run this code, see what happens. You're old enough to drink because you are 25. Okay, cool. Now what happens if I change this and I say I am 5 years old? And I run this, and of course, you already know where this is going. It's not going to work. It says you're old enough to drink because you're 5. Now that might be true in some places, but it's definitely not true in the United States. So how can we make this only print out if you're old enough to drink? Well, let's change this back to 25, and let's try using an if statement. So for this, the syntax is if, parentheses, and then your condition. So I guess for now we can say true. If true, then I want to print this. So this will always be true because I'm always passing in true. And if we run this, it'll be just like before, except now it's inside of this if statement that's always true. If I make this false and I run this code, this won't print. This will never execute. You'll never go inside this if statement. Nothing will print out. I'm going to come down here just for the sake of seeing when the program ends. And I'm going to say system.out.println. And let's just do a whole bunch of exiting program super seriously. We're done here. And then we'll do some dashes or whatever. Just take up a lot of space so we can see where the end of the program is. I'll run this. We can go through here. And it says exiting program super seriously. We're done here. Okay, cool. So now what if we want this to print if you're old enough? Well, if we remember from our math classes, we can take my age, and we can take the legal drinking age, and we can compare these two. This works just like it does in math. So you have one on the left, one on the right, and then you compare it. If you want my age to be bigger than the legal drinking age, you can use the greater than symbol, which means this number, if this number is bigger or greater than this number, do this thing. Or you can use less than. So if my age is less than the legal drinking age, then do this. Or you could say, you could replace this with this and put my age over here. And you could say, if the legal drinking age is less than my age, print this. Because if I'm 25 and legal drinking age is 21, 21 is less than 25, so print this, and this would still be right. Personally, I like to have my age out front and the legal drinking age behind it, just because that makes more sense to me. But feel free to try out both versions, because the more you try out stuff like this, the more familiar you get with it, the more experience, the better you get. So don't think that you have to do it exactly the way that I'm trying it. In fact, I would encourage you to try and break things, because that's where you do most of your learning. But okay, we can run this. We can see if this will at least print out the legal drinking age. It says you're old enough to drink because you're 25. If I change this to 5 and I run this, then we'll see if this actually executes. And it does not. It just says exiting program. So that's pretty cool. Now, what happens if I wanted to say you're not old enough to drink if you're not old enough to drink? Well, we can come over here after the last brace from this if statement. We can just say else. And this one doesn't need a condition, because this will just run anytime this if statement is false. So if this isn't true, then do this. So this doesn't need a condition here. Like, you don't need parentheses here that says true or false. You just need else and your braces. And then in here, we can say system.out.println, you can't drink yet. What are you doing? And we'll spell it W-A-T-E-R, because that's punny. And then we can try this out. So my age is 5. If my age is less than legal drinking age, you can't drink yet. What are you doing? Cool. Now, what happens if I do this? If I say my age is equal to 21, or even more specifically, if my age is equal to the legal drinking age. So what happens here? So if my age is 21 and the legal drinking age is 21, then we say if my age is greater than the legal drinking age, well, 21's not greater than 21. So we're going to come into this else statement, right? And if we run this, we can actually see that that's true. It says you can't drink yet. So one way to fix this would be to take the legal drinking age, move it down 1, and then we say if you're 21 or older, then you can drink. But of course, this is confusing because the legal drinking age is actually 21. So we're kind of lying by changing it to 20. And we can't change our age to 22. It doesn't work like that. What we can do, we actually have 2 solutions here. The first is an else if statement, and the second is to change this little piece of conditional logic here. So we'll come back to this, and we'll do an else if first, because it's a bit more complex, and then we can make it a bit simpler and easier to read. So we'll move the else down here, and we'll say else if. And because this is another condition that isn't the default case, we actually need parentheses for this one. So we'll say else if my age, and then double equals to say it's to actually do the comparison. So if my age is equal to the legal drinking age, then we need some braces. And we can move this else up here and add a space. So if my age is exactly equal to the legal drinking age, system.out.println, I can't believe you are old enough to drink. You are plus my age. So it's going to say, I can't believe you're old enough to drink. You're 21. So if we run this with my age set to 21 and the legal drinking age set to 21, it'll say, I can't believe you're old enough to drink. You're 21. Cool. Now, the other thing we could do, if we didn't want to specifically print out a special message here and we just wanted it to say you're old enough to drink, you can actually get rid of all of this. And you can say, if my age is greater than or equal to the legal drinking age, print out that you're old enough to drink. Of course, this is a bit simpler because it's just one extra symbol, but you kind of lose that flexibility of the custom message. But if you don't need a custom piece of logic for your else if, then this is definitely a good way to go. Of course, this works with less than or equal to, or you could even say if my age does not equal the legal drinking age. So if your age is anything except for 21, print this. So if we run this and my age is set to 22, for example, we'll run this. It says you're old enough to drink because you're 22. If I change this to 2, it'll also say you're old enough to drink because you're 22. Or because you're 2, sorry. And if we change this to 21, in this case, my age cannot equal the legal drinking age. So instead it'll say you can't drink yet. What are you doing? So that's sort of how you can make sure that one variable does not equal the other variable. And then I guess the last thing we can cover is a bit of, it's called Boolean algebra. But you have this idea of ands or ors, which is a confusing way to put it, but hear me out. If my age is equal to the legal drinking age, or my age is greater than the legal drinking age, then we want to print this out. So this is just a way for you to combine two conditions into one if statement. And of course, you can keep this going, and you can say or over here, and then just keep going and add as many as you want to. I don't usually like to add a whole bunch of them because it makes it really hard to read. And the general rule of thumb is you should always make your code readable for the most junior person that you expect to see the code. So, a good thing to do while you're learning is to remember what it felt like to learn so that when you get better, you can write code that past you would be able to read. At least that's how I try to think of things. One thing to keep in mind here is sometimes your logic can get a little bit messed up and it might group the wrong things together. So what I like to do is put these explicitly in parentheses so that the code knows it's this condition or it's this condition. And one other thing you can do here is you can actually take this whole thing right here and say Boolean exactly old enough to drink, equals this condition. And then we can do Boolean older than legal drinking age equals this condition. And then we can take this variable right here, put it in the first part, take this variable right here, put it in the second part, and this works exactly the same way. If we were to run this, we're 21 years old, which means we are exactly old enough to drink. And because this is an or, only one of these two needs to be true. So because this is true, it'll go straight in here. It'll say, hey, you're old enough to drink. Right here it says, hey, you're old enough to drink. We can also do and. So if you're old enough to drink and you're older than the legal drinking age, which is going to be pretty hard because this one right here needs to be greater than 21 and this one needs to be exactly 21. So these two can't ever be true. But what we could do is we could say if you're exactly old enough to drink or you're older than the legal drinking age and then we'll create a new Boolean up here and we'll say Boolean you like drinking equals true. So if you're old enough to drink and you like drinking, then do this. And in this case, you would want to wrap this in parentheses like so, because you sort of treat this as one condition and this is the other condition. And of course, you can do the same thing as before. So you can grab this whole thing, cut it out and say Boolean can drink equals this. And we can say if you can drink and you like drinking, then we can say, I don't know, go have a drink. Else, I don't know, you either can't drink or you don't want to. Live your life, though. So we're not telling them they're bad because they can't drink or they don't want to. We're telling them they're okay. They can keep living their life, but we cover both of these cases. If we run this with someone who's 21 who likes drinking, it prints out go have a drink. But if we say they don't like drinking, this will say, hopefully, you either can't drink or you don't want to. Okay, but what if they do like drinking? Sorry, I just lost power in one of my monitors. Okay, so if you like drinking, which is true, and your age is 20, and we run this, we know that we can't drink now. So hopefully it'll say you can't drink or you don't want to. Now, of course, you do like drinking, but you can't drink, right? Because this is false, but this is true. And both of these have to be true because this is an and. And a bit later down the line, we can cover some of this Boolean algebra, which is just ways to use the ands and the ors to make some cooler logic. It's a bit more complicated, but usually the ors and the ands are all you need, plus these equals, not equals, greater than operators. So the comparison operators plus the ors and the ands basically gives you everything you need, as long as you have your if, else statements as well. But that's going to do it for the code part of this tutorial. let's go ahead and let's jump to the outro video. Okay, and that's going to do it for this Java tutorial. Hopefully this helped. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and like and all that other YouTube jazz. Unless this video didn't help and YouTube hasn't taken away the ability to dislike a video yet, then feel free to dislike it. But you know, that just helps improve the platform if you do that. So remember to dislike your videos, which seems a bit counterintuitive for a YouTuber to say, but what are you going to do? That's going to do it for me, though. Next time we'll talk about switch cases and maybe some other stuff. I don't know yet. I don't really plan these things until I sit down at 2 a.m. on a work night to do them. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.